What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. Miss Cass, let's talk fashion. Mike Mazik. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cat Sports, the Box Storian. Today, the fall of the American heavyweight. And you know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Storian, bringing you all of that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. As everyone today, once again, welcome to the Monday afternoon edition of Cat Sports, the Box Storian, right back at the beginning of another big week of boxing history. Here today, we're going to talk about exactly what the title says, the fall of the American heavyweight. You know, the cupboard has been bare on the American heavyweights, the great American heavyweights lately. In the last 20 years, I think Deontay Wilder has been the only one to make more than 2 title defenses. We've had other ones, but short reigns. We're going to get into it today. And I think the big one is this weekend, right? Ron Buchanan versus Demetrius Stanionis this weekend from Atlantic City, New Jersey. So that's another one of the big ones for early 2025. And for highlights of boxing history today, we're going to talk about counterpunching. Who are some of the best counterpunchers of all time, and how do you beat a counterpuncher? Okay, just how do you beat a counterpuncher? We're going to get into those in a few minutes. Great card this weekend. Boots and Stanionis unification fight at welterweight. Both of them have belts. After Saturday, 2 belts will be in one hand, and then if it's not a draw, but then I think Brian Norman has one and Barrios has one, right? So perfect world. Norman says he wants to fight the winner, and then Barrios fight the winner of that. We get another undisputed at welterweight. But that's a perfect world, and we all know the world ain't far from perfect, so the belts will probably stay all split up for the next 10 years, you know. But let's get ready to start talking about the highlights of boxing history today. Who are some of the best counterpunchers of all time, and how do you beat a counterpuncher? Al Booger in the building. Member of Cass and Friends. Booger, we got the Cass and Friends. We got to Put It in the Chat Club. And then we got the big one, the Box Storian Society for the big wigs. But salute Al Booger, appreciate you 1,000%. We get ready to talk about the highlights of boxing history, our little segment from 2 to 2:30. Let a few more people get in the building. Today, we're going to talk about some of the best counterpunchers of all time. And then, how do you beat? We got 5 of the top counterpunchers of all time. Then how do you beat a counterpuncher? Right? How do you do it? We're going to talk about it in a few moments. Okay. Let's talk about the best counterpunchers of all time. Who are some of the best boxers of all time? Now, determining the best counterpuncher in boxing history is subjective, but several names frequently come up in this discussion, okay? Number 1, Floyd Mayweather Jr. Now, known for his defensive prowess and exceptional timing, Mayweather effectively used counterpunching to neutralize opponents' attacks. His ability to read opponents and respond with precise punches made him one of the greatest counterpunchers of all time, Floyd Mayweather, no doubt, great counterpuncher. Number 2, the great Juan Manuel Lopez, JMM, renowned for his counterpunching skills, particularly in his fights against Manny Pacquiao. Marquez was able to capitalize on his opponent's mistakes and deliver powerful counters, showcasing his timing and accuracy. JMM, Juan Manuel Marquez. Got 5 of the best. Number 3, Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard, 5 of the greatest counterpunchers of all time. Leonard combined speed, skill, and counterpunching ability. He often used his quick reflexes to evade punches and respond effectively, making him a formidable opponent in the ring. Yeah, that speed was off the charts with Sugar Ray. He could dodge his opponent's punch and counter before his opponent could pull their head back. Sugar Ray done popped them. That's how fast he was. Okay. You got to have him on here. Number 4. Got to have the greatest, Muhammad Ali. Although primarily known for his speed and movement, Ali was also an excellent counterpuncher. His ability to slip punches and respond with quick combinations was a hallmark of his fighting style. And finally, number 5, Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Hagler was not only an aggressive fighter, but also a very skilled counterpuncher. His ability to absorb punishment and respond with powerful counters was key to his success in the ring. Yeah, Hagler was a great counterpuncher. Now, while opinions may vary, these boxers are often regarded as some of the best counterpunchers in the sport's history. Each brought unique styles and strength to their counterpunching, making them legends in their own right. Okay, let's now, how do you beat a counterpuncher? Let's talk about that. How you beat a counterpuncher. I knew that was going to happen, so I was ready with the backup plan. Okay, yeah. Here we're going to talk about how you beat a counterpuncher, and then we're going to talk about the fall of the American heavyweight. There's Wilder taking his fall. Now, that was a great counterpuncher right here, too. I didn't list him in it. We just did 5, but Archie Moore was also a great counterpuncher. There's the Mongoose / Old Mongoose. Mongoose / Old Mongoose. The man fought almost 30 years. So they had to change his nickname from the Mongoose to the Old Mongoose. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, Thomas Hill? Salute. How are you today? We're talking about some counterpunches right now, but the subject is the fall of the American heavyweight. Just talked about 5 great counterpunchers. Floyd Mayweather Jr., Juan Manuel Marquez, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Muhammad Ali and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. But how do you beat a counterpuncher, though? Okay, let's talk about that. How can you beat a counterpuncher in boxing? Now, to answer this effectively, you have to first ask exactly what is a counterpuncher, okay? Now, a counterpuncher is the fighter that waits for his or her opponent to move first. Simple as that. The fighter that waits for his or her opponent to move first and then counter, right? That's the counterpuncher. Ain't nothing fancy about it. Now, Archie Moore, the Mongoose / Old Mongoose, was, according to Bleacher Report, the site Bleacher Report, the greatest counterpuncher in boxing history. The article said, Moore used a shoulder roll and a cross-arm guard to make himself nearly impregnable defensively. And just as the mongoose draws the cobra forward to its own doom, Moore would lead his opponents into perfect position for his dangerous power shots. In his career, Moore knocked out 132 opponents, the second largest known total for any professional boxer. Number one is 136 by Billy somebody. I can never remember his last name, but Archer is number 2. And that's safe because nobody will even fight 130 something times, let alone knock out 130 something. So both first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th is safe. Sugar Ray Robinson is in the 100 knockout club too with 109, with all his other skills. 109 knockouts for the great Sugar Ray Robinson. Wow. Now, as with Moore, the counterpuncher generally attacks only after his opponent attacks, right? Attacks only after his opponent attacks. He doesn't want to commit himself until he sees your first move. Now, fighting a beginner boxer that likes to wait is easy. All you have to do is throw punches and never give him a chance to counter. Now, beating a skilled counterpuncher, however, is a totally different story. You know, like a Floyd or Sugar Ray Leonard, Manuel Marquez. Beating one of those counterpunches is a totally different story. Now, counterpunchers are notoriously difficult to beat if they have boxing ability, such as a high ring IQ, adaptability, speed, reflexes, and footwork. Now, unless you fight a smart and careful fight and know how to adapt as necessary, you will be picked apart and humiliated by a skilled counterpuncher with boxing ability. Now, before you can beat the counterpuncher, or any fighter really, you must first learn their style and why they use that style. So why is your opponent waiting for you to move? Is it because he's faster than you or more skilled than you? Or is it to time your punches? Now, whether or not the counterpuncher is truly more skilled than the opponent is not the point. It's that he appears to be prepared for that opponent. He's prepared both to defend and to counterattack. Now, there are essentially 2 types of counterpunching, right? 2 types of counterpunching. The slickest and most dangerous fighters are often counterpunchers because they know how to set dangerous traps for an opponent to walk into. And the other kind of counterpuncher is just the guy who is chosen to defend. For any number of reasons, he doesn't want to trade punches. He may not even want to fight. He may not even want to be in the ring at all. He might be injured, exhausted, or know he is weaker than his opponent. The easiest way to defeat a counterpuncher is to avoid his counters, but that is far easier said than done. If he is faster and or more skilled, avoiding counters is a no-go from the start. Okay? Now, the more difficult way is use feints to draw his counter and then counter his counters, right? This also is far more easily said than done. Use small movements instead of large ones and try to time his counters. Use body punches because they will force the counterpuncher into blocking those punches instead of merely slipping and ducking. Any fighter facing a skilled counterpuncher must also be in tip-top shape. You will be in for a long night of constant movement. And if you are not conditioned for that, you have lost before it begins. Just remember what Floyd Patterson wrote about fighting counterpunchers 50 years ago in his classic, The International Boxing Hall of Fame's Basic Boxing Skills. Patterson wrote, "The key to fighting a counterpuncher is to remember always what punches he throws are almost completely dependent on what punches you throw, right? The best way to defeat a counterpuncher is to counter his counters, which disrupts his entire fighting style, right? Best way to beat a counterpuncher. Counter him, okay? That will disrupt him. Okay, let's get ready to get into the fall of the American heavyweight. Okay, fall of the American heavyweight today. Didn't mean to do that yet. How's everybody today? It's Monday. Got a big week coming up. I don't know who the profile is, the boxing in the States, none of that. But I knew we were doing the fall of the American heavyweight today. Okay, excuse me for one moment. Gotta check on something real quick. Let's see. Oh God. Come on. Oh, there it is right there. Okay, I got it. Okay, yeah. Yeah, the profile this week is Vitaly Klitschko Friday. We did Vladimir Vitaly's turn. And the boxing in the States was Tennessee last week, right? Let's see who we got this week, and then we're gonna get started. Finished early, it's only 2:20. It was after Tennessee. Texas, okay, we got a good one this Thursday. Boxing in the States is Texas. Boxing in the States is Texas. The profile is Vladimir Klitschko. Okay. The fall of the American heavyweight, not great, just the American heavyweight, okay? Okay. Got a nice slide display for you today. Now, the fall of the American heavyweight. Okay, now as the tributes poured in, one of the many things we learned following the death of George Foreman was that his opponents were also his collaborators. We learned, for example, that it wasn't possible to tell a story or explain the greatness of Big George without mentioning the following: Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, and Michael Moorer. And for the full picture and a complete understanding, there were others too: Ken Norton, Ron Lyle, Jimmy Young, Evander Holyfield, Tommy Morrison, and so on. Now, some of these men beat Foreman, and some were beaten by him, one or two emphatically. Now, regardless, they all helped Foreman to build his legacy, and were in turn enhanced by their association with him, however long or short. Okay. Mike Rim in the building. What's up, Mike? We just started talking about the fall of the American heavyweight. Salute, Mike Rim. Appreciate you stopping by today. Okay. Now, most of them are now dead. Talking about the heavyweights that fought back around George Foreman's time. Most of them are now dead, outlasted by Foreman and the greatest fight of all. Yet, a few are still around, like Holyfield and Moorer, now relics from a time when Americans ruled the heavyweight division. Each of the collaborators mentioned just now were American heavyweights. George Foreman's career happened to cover two different golden ages of American heavyweight boxing. Now, for the 1970s, you had the likes of Ali, Frazier, and Norton. And then, representing the 90s, you had the likes of Holyfield, Moorer, and Morrison. It seemed American heavyweights were all Foreman ever saw. Big ones, small ones, righties, lefties. No matter his age, and no matter the decade in which he competed, Foreman knew his greatest challenges would be American heavyweights. And he also knew to become the world heavyweight champion, he would have to take that title from an American heavyweight, right? Back at that time. Okay. Now, Foreman's first pro fight was against an American, Don Waldheim, and his last pro fight was against an American, Shannon Briggs. And every fight in between served to highlight America's dominance in heavyweight boxing. Back then, the North American Boxing Federation, the NABF heavyweight title, which was on the line when Foreman beat both Frazier and Lau, really meant something. It was a belt a fighter actually wanted to win. After all, to be the best heavyweight in America at that time meant the same as being the best heavyweight in the world. Then, by the new millennium, 2000, everything changed. Evander Holyfield went from a rivalry with Lennox Lewis to a rivalry with John Ruiz, while Mike Tyson himself, a one-time Holyfield rival, was fresh out of jail and about to take his show on the road, flogging what was left of his snarl and stamina for a hefty fee. They both faded, in other words, as all of them do. Only this time, there were no young American fighters coming up behind them to quicken the passing of the torch or to tell them their time was up. Okay? Now, the focus switched from Americans to a couple of Europeans who share the last name and were dubbed the future of the heavyweight division. One was called Vitaly and the other Vladimir. And together, the Klitschko brothers were going to not only take over the heavyweight division, but take it in a new direction entirely. Modern day heavyweights, they were called. And all this really meant was that they were bigger and presumably better than the heavyweights who came before them. Whereas Holyfield, a former cruiserweight, was no taller than 6'3", and Tyson just 5'10". The Klitschkos both surpassed the 6'6" mark and weighed around 250 pounds. They didn't just look different, they felt different, they sounded different, they were in every conceivable way something alien in a division long accustomed to seeing the same faces and hearing the same voices. Now still, despite the change, there was an occasional shot of familiarity. Take Hasim Rahman, for instance. He shocked the world by dethroning Lennox Lewis in 2001. And for a brief period, there was a return to a sort of normality with an American as heavyweight champion. Everything for a time was back in the right place. And yet, for all his good work in South Africa, Rockman was not a man whom great things were expected from, either as a prospect, contender, or heavyweight champion. Okay? Rockman was nothing to write home to mom about. Instead, the Rockman rise was more of a surprise than an inevitability, with his reign as heavyweight champion not only short, but a cruel reminder both how things used to be for American heavyweights and how things had changed. In the end, Rockman's reign, which lasted all of 7 months, was the boxing equivalent of seeing an old photo of a former significant other. It was brief, but his reign offered some pleasant feelings and sparked a bit of yearning, but ultimately had no bearing on one's ability to return to that time, much less reconcile. Okay, now 2 weeks after, so 2 weeks after the death of Big George Foreman, young American heavyweight Richard Torres stepped into the ring this past weekend. His opponent was Guido Vianello, a 30-year-old Italian. Now, Torres won a 10-round unanimous decision, going the distance for the first time in his professional career of 13 fights. Now, Torres said he wanted to prove that he's the best heavyweight out there and show what American heavyweights are made of. Now, the idea of an American heavyweight feeling the pressure to show what American heavyweights are made of would have been unheard of back when Foreman competed. In those days, it was the other way around. In those days, the rest of the world had to prove their worth at heavyweight, prove they belonged. The Americans, they had no doubts. Their confidence came from bodies and flags, the sheer volume of them. They did not need to look for validation or proof of their worth. Okay? It was to their left and it was to their right. Yeah, Americans didn't have that. Americans ran heavyweight back in those days. But now you got this young heavyweight saying he's trying to prove Americans belong. That was unheard of back in the day. Show what Americans are made of. People knew that back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Now, Torres, on the other hand, is in 2025 one of only a few prominent American heavyweight prospects. Worse, there's a kind of generational trauma that now stalks him and his kind. For it is difficult as an American heavyweight to ignore how others have recently fared. Just a year ago, for example, Torres was in a competition with Jared Anderson for the tag of next big thing in American heavyweight boxing, only for Anderson in August of last year to come unstuck against Martin McCauley and lose his unbeaten record. In just 5 rounds, McCauley managed to have everyone question their earlier lauding of Anderson and remind us again the heavyweight prospects, American or otherwise, are only as good as their matchmaker's perception and their promoters' patience. Okay. Now, of course, such is a hunger for the next great American heavyweight. Staying patient is not always easy. Now, in retrospect, Anderson, at age 25, should have perhaps avoided Bacoli when he still had much to learn. But keen to move fast, the dice was rolled. Yeah, and it ended up turning out bad. Turned out bad. But hindsight is 20/20 vision. Similarly, people should not get too carried away with the form of Torres, this young guy that fought Saturday. Despite him winning silver at the 2020 Olympic Games, and the fact that he has ended 12 of his 13 professional fights inside the distance. We can't get too high on him, not yet. See what happened to Big Baby. That included a disqualification of Joey Heavyweigjt. Now the truth is, the amateur ranks are no longer the talent gauge of old, nor a breeding ground for American heavyweights like it used to be. In fact, the last American super heavyweight champion was Tyrell Biggs in 1984, right? That's almost 50 years. Okay? And the last American Olympic heavyweight champion was Ray Mercer in 1988, almost the same amount of time. That's a long time, almost 40 years, between 40 and 50 years ago. Since then, the field has mostly been dominated by heavyweights, the Olympics from either the Eastern Bloc or Cuba, making Torres' silver medal success in 2020 at least noteworthy or a sign of progress. Now, in 2006, Don King made a statement wondering where the next great American heavyweight would come from. Nowadays, just about 20 years later, we can safely say that Don never found him, right? Don King never found him. Now, Deontay Wilder, a former basketball player and WBC heavyweight champion, he's the only boxer offering any kind of longevity in the division as an American during the last 20 years, right? I think he's the only American that's made over 2 title defenses in the last 20 years. Now, Wilder said about fighters transitioning from other sports such as football or basketball, Wilder said, I am the exception, right? Boxing takes more than just being tall or big. Now, we've seen it with other guys who came over from football or basketball. When it comes down to it, they don't have it. They don't have that animal in them, that fighting instinct. Wilder said the key is, I think, is to get these guys before they go to basketball or football, not after the fact. Okay, not coming back from those sports. You got to get them before they go to those sports. But that's hard to do because, it's less punishment, it's more money. So, you like 6'5", 240. But you're going to be a boxer or a linebacker in the NFL. I'm going to be a linebacker in the NFL. Okay? It's a contact sport, but I'm not getting beat upside the head for 10, 12 rounds. And they say every boxer gets brain damage, but the different levels, but every boxer suffers from brain damage to some level. So I'm going to be a linebacker in the NFL if I'm like 6'5", 240. We get boxing. Now, since the turn of the century, there have still been some notable heavyweight champions from America. These include Rockman and Wilder, who we already mentioned. Others are Andy Ruiz of Puerto Rican descent, Chris Burritt, Roy Jones Jr., Lamont Brewster, Shannon Briggs, and Charles Martin. Now, in addition to nationality, The other thing this group of boxers have in common is the short length of their title reigns. Like I said, with only Wilder making more than 2 defenses of his title. In the last 20 years, we had one American make more than 2 defenses of a title belt. That's crazy, isn't it? Wow, but that's the truth. That's a fact. Only one. So the cupboard is bare as far as American heavyweights. Very bare. Now, only one American has made 2 defenses of a belt in the last 20 years. Now, the rest experience success fleetingly. Here today, gone tomorrow. And even Wilder, who accrued 10 defenses, was never at any point considered the #1 heavyweight in the world. Yeah, he was champion, but he was still not considered the best. Because, his last 2 fights showed if he can't get that right hand in there, Wilder is basically sea level. His last 2 fights proved. He got a fight coming up in June, though, so hey, he's trying to make a comeback. So give the guy credit. Just Do Boxing in the building. What's up, Just Do? And BBO Boxing TV. We talking about the fall of the great American heavyweight. Just Do Boxing coming up at 4 p.m. That balanced, unbiased boxing talk. Everybody gets the Just Do at Just Do Boxing. Salute Just Do. And BBO coming up at 8 p.m. from the STN Sports Talk Network. Salute BBO Boxing TV and Just Do Boxing. Okay. Let's continue with the fall of the American heavyweight. Because like I'm saying, the cupboard is bare when it comes to American heavyweights right now. We've only had, like I'm saying, one American make over 2 title defenses in the last 20 years. Man. That's Deontay Wilder. We've had others, but Deontay's been the only one with any type of longevity. And he was nothing to write home to mom about. Okay, sorry, Deontay. Now, as for the American heavyweight prospects, a similar pattern emerges. The hype is intense, but ultimately short-lived. Now, in this category, you can find men like Michael Grant. Grant is perhaps the American heavyweight prospect to end all American heavyweight prospects. And also Dominique Gwynn and Joe Messi. Richard Torres is young American that fought Saturday been compared to Joe Messi, right? And in the case of Grant's record was 31-0 before he fought Lennox Lewis for the world heavyweight title in April 2000. Now, prior to the Lewis fight, Grant had only had trouble in one fight against Andrew Galata. In his previous fight to the Lewis fight, and he just barely got through the fight with a win against Galata. Okay? So that made him 31-0. So then, it came as no surprise then when Lewis dropped Grant 3 times in the first round, right? And finished him in the second. Finished him in the second round. So then a year after that, Grant was beaten again, this time inside the first round again by Jamil McCline. Then in 2003, Grant was stopped in 7 rounds by Dominique Gwynn, a 21-0 American prospect. And the new Michael Grant, after Dominique Gwynn beat Grant, he became the new Michael Grant, right? Gwynn, smaller than Grant, but less stiff. He was understated as far as American heavyweights go, but someone in whom a lot was invested. In March 2004, he appeared on the cover of the Ring magazine alongside Messi, the other big American heavyweight prospect, and Britain's Artley Harrison, accompanied by the headline, "Who will replace Lewis, Tyson, and Holyfield?" Okay, who will replace those 3? All right, people coming coming in here now. Okay, I didn't miss anybody. Now, of those three cover stars, Gwen's bubble was the first to burst, popped by hard scrabble heavyweight Monty Bird. Shortly after the cover shoot, he lost to Monty Bird. Then after losing to Bird, Gwen went on to lose 5 more and had a draw of his next 10 fights, okay? And the other American prospect on the cover was Joe Messi. He had a tough time against Vasily Gerov, feeling he was fortunate to get the win. After the fight, Messi's promising boxing career was in danger of ending on account of an MRI scan, which indicated he had suffered at least one subdural hematoma during the fight. Now Messi had to engage in a fight just to be allowed to box. In the following year, Messi, his attorney, and 3 doctors went before the Nevada State Athletic Commission to argue that Messi's hematomas had healed and that he was in no more danger than any other boxer, okay? So, the Messi appeal was denied by a 5-0 vote, and the suspension prohibited him from boxing anywhere in the United States. This ban remained in place until Messi's Nevada boxing license expired at the end of 2005. As an unlicensed boxer, he looked elsewhere for permission to fight, eventually finding it in 2006. Boxing commissions in Puerto Rico, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Michigan all granted Messi a license and allowed him to fight in their jurisdictions. He fought 4 times in 2006 and another 3 times in 2007, winning each of those 3 fights inside 1 round. After that, Joe Messi never fought again. He retired with a perfect 37-0 record and was neither a champion or a fraud, but forever a prospect. But baby Joe Messi is still remembered and referenced, while the others who held the United States hope as the next great American heavyweight are all forgotten. All forgotten. Okay. So let's look at some of the Aunt McQueen in the building. What's up, Aunt? Let's take a look at some of the active American heavyweights that we do have. You know, like I said, the cupboard is bare. But let's take a look at some of them that we do have as American heavyweights right now. It's nothing like it used to be the old days, like the 70s and the 90s. Like I said, Americans ran heavyweight back then, but the cupboard is bare. I can't think of no other way to put it. But let's look at a few of the active heavyweights right now in boxing currently in 2025. That's like 6 of them. Let's take a look at those 6. A quick look. Okay, we're gonna get some link time at the end today too, because it's just 2:47. Okay, yeah. I'm running these shows right up to the door lately. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. The first one, of course, is Deontay Wilder. Take a look at some of the heavyweights American heavyweights that's actually in the game right now. Deontay Wilder. Now, Wilder is a former World Boxing Council heavyweight champion, WBC, holding that title from 2015 to 2020. Now, his 2008 Olympic bronze medal earned him the nickname of the Bronze Bomber. Now, Wilder was the first American heavyweight champion since 2007, ending the longest period in boxing history without one, okay? And he's the last one since he went down, 2021 when he lost his belt to Fury, or 2019? He's the last one since then. So he's been the only one in the last 18 years. Since 2007, we had one American heavyweight champion, and none since Wilder, okay? He ended the longest drought in American history. Now another drought has started. And Wilder's scheduled to fight Tyrell Anthony Herndon in Wichita, Kansas on June 27th, coming up. He's from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and currently 43 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw, 42 knockouts, 97.6% knockout rate, though. He still got that great knockout rate. Yeah. Okay. Andy Ruiz. Yeah, Andy's American, Puerto Rican descent. Andy Ruiz, another American that's currently in the building. In the ring. In the building. Currently in the ring, active right now. Donnie Williams, salute Donnie. Yeah, we're looking at how the American heavyweight has fallen, man. Like I was just saying, I don't know if you heard Donnie. Won in the last 18 years, Wilder. And since he went down and lost his belt to Fury, none. Big Baby was a big hope, but see what happened to him with, maybe they rushed him, who knows, but Coley. Now we got this young guy now, Torres. He won Saturday. He went the distance for the first time in his 13-fight career, but he got to win 10-round unanimous decision. And he had previously had 12 of his 13, but we're going to talk about him too. But Andy Ruiz. Andy Ruiz is a Mexican. I meant Mexican. I said Puerto Rican. That was wrong. Andy Ruiz Jr. is a Mexican-American boxer and the first heavyweight champion of Mexican descent. In 2019, he held the WBA, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO titles. Took him from AJ, making him a unified world heavyweight champion. The Ruiz is from the Imperial Valley in Southeast California. Although he initially loved baseball, his father pushed him into boxing, a decision that would pay off. From Imperial, California, currently 35 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw with 22 knockouts. Gerald Miller, another American heavyweight. Is he still the original Big Baby? Is he still active? I think he is. Gerald Miller. We're going to talk about him anyway. Melon the Queen 27 in the building. Salute Melon the Queen. How are you today? He'll be talking about how these the cupboard is bare. I know I keep saying that, but that describes it perfectly. Well, the American heavyweights, the cupboard is. We got some out there, but no champions in almost 20 years, man. You know, Wilder was the first one in all that time, and now we done started another drought since Wilder went down. Big Baby was the hope, but I don't know. We'll see. But Gerald Miller, another American that's currently active. Miller is a former kickboxer and current American pro heavyweight boxer. He first gained recognition in 2007 after reaching the New York Golden Gloves tournament finals and competing for the New Jersey Tigers in the World Combat League. Now, Miller claims to have been the highest paid kickboxer in the United States. However, before a fight, he tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs and missed out on a career-high payday. From Brooklyn, New York, and the original Big Baby is currently 26 wins, just 1 loss, 2 draws. He has 22 knockouts, 84.6% knockout ratio. Not bad at all for the original Big Baby, right? Michael Hunter, another American that's out there right now. Michael Hunter. Yeah. Now, Michael Hunter competed for the WBO junior heavyweight title in 2017. Came up short. As an amateur, he won the national championships in 2007 and 2009 as a super heavyweight and qualified for the 2012 Olympics in the heavyweight division. He didn't medal. I don't remember him being in the Olympics, but he qualified. But Hunter has described himself as a small heavyweight and a little guy battling giants. Okay. And in 2021, he turned down an IBF eliminator to face Philip Hergovic. He's the son of late professional boxer Mike the Bounty Hunter. He's from Van Nuys, California. Currently 24 wins, just 1 loss, 2 draws, 17 knockouts. That's like 70 something. 70.8. So. Now, Jared Anderson, the other big baby. Gregory Pratt, what's up, GP? Gregory Pratt is in the building today. Salute, Gregory. We are talking about, the fall of the great American heavyweight. Not like it used to be. We got to find some heavyweights out there to get at least one of the belts. Haven't had one since Wilder. It was a drought before Wilder. Now we're in another drought. But Richard Torres is gonna correct that for us. Give him a year or two. The young kid young man that fought Saturday. I'm sorry, I don't mean to call him a kid. The young man that fought Saturday, Richard Torres, he's gonna correct that. He's gonna be the next great heavyweight thing. I promise. We're gonna be okay by 2027, maybe late 2026. He'll have a title. Okay. I can't wait till him and what's the guy's name with the afro from over there? Oh man, from the Middle East somewhere. That will be a battle there. I can't think of his name. Okay, Jared Anderson, the other big baby. He won the NABF heavyweight title in 2021, right? As an amateur, Big Baby won the U.S. National Championships in 2017 and 2018. Now, he's known for his calculated pressure, head movement, and situational awareness. In July 2023, he faced former title holder Charles Martin in a homecoming fight in Toledo, Ohio. Anderson won the 2017 and 2018 U.S. National Championship. I think I said that as an amateur. In 2021, he won the NABF heavyweight title. He suffered his first loss in brutalizing fashion in August 2024 by a fifth-round knockout to the monster, Martin McCauley. Okay, and finally, the young guy that fought Saturday, Richard Torres, real quick. Richard Torres. Why didn't change? Well, there's Big Baby right there. That's Richard Torres. He fought Saturday, remember? There he is. And Big Baby. From Toledo, Ohio. He's currently currently 18 wins, 1 loss, 15 knockouts, 83.3% knockout rate. Didn't help him against McCauley though. But Richard Torres, American professional boxer. As an amateur, Torres qualified to represent the United States at the 2020 Olympics, where he won a silver medal. As a pro, he is 13-0 with 11 knockouts. From Tulane, California, 13-0, 11 knockouts, 84.6% knockout rate for Richard Torres. And I promise he's going to bring the American heavyweight back to attention of the world. It'll take him a minute because he's young now, just 13 fights. Don't throw him in there with no Usyk at the 13 fights. Let him go a little ways more. Don't do that to the young. He's not ready for that kind of noise. Not ready for none of the champions yet. But I don't know. Hey, I don't know. If you say he's ready, put him in there. No, don't do that. He's going to be ready in like next year. Okay, so why did fighters in the old days usually have so many more fights than fighters today? Okay. Why did fighters in the old days usually have so many more fights than fighters today? Okay. Where'd y'all at? Let's see why. Okay. That's the brown bomber there. Now, because There was no pay-per-view or cable sports channels or any of those money-making amenities up until the last 50 years. So boxers back then had to fight more often to make a living. And a lot of them had other jobs too, besides boxing. Now in the book, Joe Louis, Hard Time Man, we're on a different subject now. That was on about the heavyweight, the fall of the American heavyweight. But now we're going to talk about why these fighters in the old days used to have way more fights than fighters today. And like I said, because there was no pay-per-view, no cable sports channels, or any of those type money-making things. So they had to fight more just to make a living. Like I said, many of them had other jobs. So in the book Joe Louis called Joe Louis Hard Times Man, it discusses how relatively little the heavyweight champion of the world, probably the most popular athlete in the United States at that time, made for a fight. Now listen to this. Now Joe Louis would get a piece of the gate, right? Get a piece of the gate. Then, between paying his trainer, his management team, and expenses, Joe was lucky to pocket half of his purse that he made. Now listen, in his first 24 fights of his career, Joe made a total of $371,000. That's like between $10,000 and $11,000 a fight, okay? That's it. In 24 fights, he made a total of that's not one fight, that's all of them. $371,000 in 24 fights, okay? Now, he made most of that in the last 5 of those fights when he was the #1 contender. Now, that $371,000 was before his team and management got their cut, right? So he wasn't even getting that $10,000 or $11,000 because he had to pay his team. Now, before he paid expenses, including camps before fights, he was lucky if he pocketed half of that $371,000 as actual earnings. Joe's last 2 fights as champion before he went into the military earned him $65,000 and $45,000. Now, while granted, that translates to 10 times that amount today, it is still meager earnings for the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Today, the rematch between Fury and Usyk in December was worth $191 million in comparison, right? Louis made $4.6 million during his entire career. $4.6 million his entire career. And the fight Fury and Usyk just had was worth $191 million, right? So to do the math. Even adjusted for inflation, today's heavyweight champions easily make twice that in a single fight. What this man made his entire career, today's champions make 2 times that in one fight, okay? And Louis was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. So what did a journeyman make, right? This is a heavyweight champion making this little meager money. So what did the rest of them make? Peanuts. Which is why most of them work regular jobs in addition to boxing. You know, like I said, a lot of them had other jobs, you know, carpenters and janitors and security guards, correctional officers, you know. Even today, regular fighters, even contenders in the lower weight classes don't make that much money based on a sampling of salaries from across the country. Job Search website Simply Higher estimates the average salary of a working professional boxer at $32,000 per year. That's nowadays, okay? $32,000 a year. So all these fighters not making no $2-3 million. All of them not millionaires neither. And only half of pro boxers even see $32,000 a year. And even for the top fighters in the lower weight classes, there was relatively little money back then. Oh, remember, we're going back again. Back when Bob Foster was undisputed heavyweight champion, undisputed light heavyweight champion, he made 14 successful title defenses against 13 fighters, and not one of those title defenses earned him more than $100,000. Not one of them. Okay? Not one fight did he make more than $100,000. He was the undisputed champion of the world. Foster would say in a ring interview right before his passing, "There was no big money in my division. I could make $100,000, but the big guys were making $300,000. I told Ali and Frazier to give me a chance to make that big money, and they both gave me the opportunity." And so when Foster won the light heavyweight title, he had to pay a huge fee to the promoters to get the fight. And he ended up not making one penny for winning the light heavyweight title. Foster got that title shot by essentially buying it. Foster had been trying for years to get a title shot, but nobody would fight him. Okay? So what he did, he got some people who owned a construction company to put money up for him to fight light heavyweight champion Dick Tiger. Foster didn't make any money in the fight because his purse was $60,000. And he had to give that to the people who had put up the money for him to fight in the first place. But he did win the title, but Foster came out of that fight with the title, knocking Tiger out in the 4th round. So he won the title, but he didn't make any money at all. Because I think they put up $100,000 for him to fight. And he made $60,000, so he actually still owed him $40,000, right? Okay. So older fighters back before cable TV, pay-per-view, and mega bucks fought more because they earned so little. That was the answer to the question. They fought more because they earned so little. Okay? One more question. This is going to take us up to like late time. Okay, we got one more question. Now, were past boxers really better than modern boxers, even when they did not have access to modern technology and methods? Were past boxers really better than modern boxers, even when they did not have access to modern technology and methods? Again, glad y'all asked. Okay, I'm gonna answer that for y'all. Okay. Now let's see. Specifically, what made boxers of old better boxers than modern ones? Okay. In days going by, the best athletes boxed. The old trainers were grandmasters who had hundreds of fights themselves, right? And they knew every technique and trick in the book. Okay? They knew every technique and trick in the book. The best learned from each other, and they fought each other. None of that is true today. Okay? Jack Blackburn, Joe Lewis's legendary trainer, who had also been a great fighter himself, was asked to compare Joe Lewis to Jesse Owens, the track star who won 4 Olympic gold medals. And Blackburn, he was asked to compare the two, right? Who was the greater master of sport? Blackburn answered, "Boxing can kill you. It ain't just physical. It takes mastering your mind plus your physical talent." And Blackburn is 100% correct. Hundreds, maybe thousands of fighters have died in the ring since the beginning of the modern boxing age. We're going to cover a little bit about that a little bit later too. Boxing takes years, sometimes decades to master, and requires exquisite mental facilities. as well as extraordinary physical talent. In the current era, the great trainers are a distant memory. The great trainers are a distant memory. Training hasn't improved in any way at all. If anything, there are less qualified trainers than ever before. Today's fighters aren't trained by real champions or by great ex-fighters. And most of the boxing training has not changed a bit since the days of the great Jack Blackburn. The fighters hit the heavy bags, they hit the light bags, they spar, they are taught by their trainer, they do road work. Some things are timeless. Now, the best trainers in history were fighters who knew all the secrets of the game. Rocky Marciano's trainer, Charlie Goldman, claimed to have had over 300 pro fights himself. Jack Blackburn, Joe Louis's trainer, was one of the great lightweights of the turn of the century and had over 160 pro fights. He fought the likes of Joe Gans, Sam Langford, and Harry Grant. Okay? They learned to fight by fighting and then by working with other great trainers. That level of experience is completely gone from the sport today. Floyd Patterson, the first two-time heavyweight champion, said, "I was lucky to have Cus D'Amato to teach me, to mold me into a great fighter. Without Cus, I never would have become a world champion. It takes great teachers, and I don't see any coming up to replace the Cus D'Amatos and the Charlie Goldmans." Larry Holmes, former world heavyweight champion, won the first 48 fights of his professional career before suffering his first loss, and made 20 consecutive title defenses during a 7-year reign. When asked why he thought the skill level of boxers had declined, Holmes traced it back to work in gyms, pointing out that you go to the gym today and you see a lot of kids trying to box. The person teaching them how to fight might never have had a fight themselves. Now, how can you teach me something you have never done yourself? How can they show me how to fight? They can't, right? They can't. Simple as that. They can't. Okay? Now, it's early. Now, the best athletes no longer go into boxing because of the physical toll it takes on them. With Ali's physical condition turning out the way it did, always being a constant reminder, a constant sad reminder to athletes as to what can happen to you in boxing. I talked about this before. You know, if you're 6'5", 240 pounds, what are you going to be, a heavyweight boxer or an NFL linebacker? I'm going to be an NFL linebacker. It's less punishment and more money if you're good, you know. As a result, today's boxers are not as exciting to watch. Now, some fans worship size, but bigger is not better. Fundamentals and training are more important than size. Because fighters today are bigger does not mean they are better. Height like Tyson Fury's is helpful if you are dunking a basketball, right? It's not the deciding factor in a boxing ring. Okay? Winding down now. I see the airport over there. We're going to get some lake time in a few. See the airport over there in the distance. Former two-time world champion and trainer Buddy McGirt said, "Bigger is definitely not better. It's not the biggest fighter that's going to win the fight. It's the better fighter and the smarter fighter. The myth often thrown around today is fighters are bigger, faster, stronger, and better today than ever. But do they have superior fundamentals? Do they throw more punches? Are they new and improved and better than the legends? The answer to all three questions is N-O, exclamation point, no. Athletes more than ever realize you risk your life and sanity boxing at the professional level. You risk your life, and if you survive, you risk your sanity. A fighter must fight to improve. There's no substitute for sparring, for actually getting hit to improve your skills. But at the same time, a man only has so many hard punches in him, so many shots he can take, right? He got so much the brain not meant to be beat on like that. And so many times that you can take that type of punishment. So getting hit in the head does cumulative damage and doesn't help even if it doesn't kill you, right? It still doesn't help you. Bleacher Report lists the most dangerous sports, lists boxing as number 1, the most dangerous sport of the conventional sports. Now, 22 boxers died in 1953 alone. 37 boxers have died since 1989, compared to 21 for rodeo events, including bull riding. Almost doubled it. And this is despite rule changes in boxing, reducing rounds from 15 to 12 for championship events and from 12 to 10 for regular fights. Requirements that doctors be ringside and an ambulance on standby, and more rules. But CNN says 13 boxers a year die on average. Stunningly, CNN also says between 1890 and 2011, it's estimated that 1,604 boxers died as a direct result of injuries sustained in the boxing ring. Wow, that's a lot. That is a lot. EP says, I believe in evolution. The fighters of today has better feet and IQ from watching the ones before them. Okay. Now, according to the Journal of Combated Sport, from January of 1960 to August of 2011 alone, there were 488 boxing-related deaths. The journal attributed 66% of these deaths to head, brain, or neck injuries. One was attributed to a skull fracture. Okay? Medical studies show that every boxer sustains a certain level of brain damage. Every boxer. And I don't care how good you are defensively. Medical studies prove that you suffer more brain damage from sparring than you do the actual fight. More brain damage from sparring than you do the actual fight. And Willie Pep, arguably the greatest defensive fighter of all time, definitely top 2 or 3, died from pugilistic dementia. One of the greatest defensive fighters of all time died from pugilistic dementia. Okay? So great defense doesn't matter. You're still going to get hit. Boxing spares no one. Modern fighters and their trainers make a career out of fighting lower level opponents instead of contenders and wonder why they don't improve. Now, some modern managers come right out and admit they avoid dangerous fighters, right? Something has to be done so the best fighters quit ducking each other and boxing fans get to see the best fighters fight each other more often. Up to the 1960s, boxing was the second most popular sport in the world, thanks to baseball. From the onset of the undisputed champions, with Jack Dempsey up to Rocky Marciano, boxing sold more tickets, had more radio listeners than any other sport except baseball. And during the exciting time of popular world champions such as Dempsey and Joe Louis, the numbers came close to baseball. The sport even retained immense popularity up through the 1990s. So the rise of pro football in the United States and soccer abroad began to erode boxing's popularity. Still, boxing was in the top 5 up until the Klitschko's era, and still in the top 10 with them. Today, worldwide, boxing is not even in the top 10 most popular sports, not even top 10 anymore, okay? It's sad how far the sweet science has fallen in popularity, because boxing is the most physically and mentally demanding sport there is. Gene Tunney said, "You never truly master boxing. You learn its intricacies your entire life. It is as complicated as chess in its moves and harder to learn. By the time your mind truly learns the skills, you must have, your body has begun to fail you." Right? By the time your mind pick up the skills, your body begin to fail you. Boxing is the most unforgiving sport of them all. Many try to climb the mountain. Very few get to the top. Boxing is the most difficult sport along with MMA. It's tougher than football, harder than baseball, harder than basketball, gymnastics, hockey, soccer, cycling, skiing, fishing, billiards, or any other sport. For all of the above reasons, modern fighters are a sad shadow of eras gone by. The legendary Jack Blackburn. You have to face the best, learn from the best, if you are going to be the best. Legendary fighter and trainer, Jack Blackburn, okay? Okay, I'm gonna put the link in there. We got like 40 minutes. Okay, and I stopped changing my pictures, I'm sorry. Good one. David Benavidez and Plant, Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney, Duvall and Batavia, Jack Blackburn. Let me read his quote again since I ain't have his picture up there. The legendary Jack Blackburn. You have to face the best, learn from the best, if you are going to be the best. Legendary boxer and trainer, Jack Blackburn. Trainer of the Brown Bomber himself, Joe Louis. Yeah. Put the link in there so long, I forgot how to do it. Okay. All right. Appreciate everybody that comes through today. Al Booker says, barely top 20, shake my head. It's like 19. Yeah, Al Booker is way down there. Way down there. Is it still in the top 20? It's way down there. Yeah, but I need somebody else to join one of these groups so Al Booker won't be by itself in there. I got the cast and friends. Got to put it in the chat club. And the Boxtorian Society. Boxtorian Society for the Bigwigs. Okay. 3 different groups. Feel free to join. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna put the link in here and we're gonna chop it up for like 40 minutes. 35 by the time I get the link in. It's Monday. Did everybody have a good weekend? Enjoy the fights. We got the big one coming up this week, Boots and Stanionis. Yeah. Yeah. Brian Norman Jr. claims he wants the winner. He clout chased last time, remember? He knew his hand was messed up, calling Boots out of they had operation. He knew he couldn't fight. Ain't that crazy? Mm-hmm. Knew he couldn't fight. Talking all that stuff. Boots gonna hurt that boy if you ever get him in there. If you ever get him in the ring. But hey, who knows? It's boxing. But we want to see it. Okay, let's see. Make sure I got all my ducks lined up. In a row. Okay, let's see. What is that? I believe everything's correct. Okay, there we go. All right. Yeah, we're gonna do Texas Thursday in the Boxing of the State, so that should be a good one. And then we got Friday's Vitaly Klitschko. We did his brother Vladimir, remember? How come I can't get this off the screen, man? We did his brother Vladimir, Vitaly Klitschko Friday for the profile. And I don't know what else going on this week, but we're gonna have another big week of boxing history. We're right at the beginning of it. Yeah, right at the beginning of another big week of boxing history. Everybody can hit the link. Feel free. And yeah. Join the clubs. The cast and friends, put it in the chat club and the Boxtorian Society. Okay. Yeah, Al Booker Billy top 20. Is it still in the top 20? Might be the fell out. It's crazy, man. Used to be number 2 next to baseball back in the 20s because football didn't have that many teams, and hockey was mainly in Canada back then. You know, we didn't have any NHL in the United States, and basketball was just like a fizzling type thing. You know, everybody was taking set shots. People shooting free throws. You know how Rick Berry used to shoot them underhanded. Then at the free throw line, throwing it underhand. Remember how Rick Berry used to shoot free throws? Yeah. He used to make them though, remember? On them underhand. He used to sink them. Yes, he did. We got Just Do Boxing. Great podcast coming up at 4 p.m. I think BBO Boxing was in here too. He's at 8. Couple of great shows. Who y'all got Saturday? Boots or Stanionis? I got Boots. I don't think he's gonna stop Stanionis though. Stanionis is tough, man. I think Boots will get a unanimous decision on him, but Stanionis is a tough guy, man. Boots ain't stopping him. I did not think so. But you never know, but I don't think so. I think he goes the distance. Stanionis is confident too. Yes, he is. He's ready. Okay, let me see. I gotta go to Plan C here then. Let's look at some other counter punches. Since that's what we started out with today. So the highlights of boxing history was the counter punch, right? Let's talk some more about that. Counter punching. Let me see if I can find. Now you got the counter punch. What is the best counter punch? You know, what punch is best to counter with? That's a good question. Let's take a look at it. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. Often the best counterpunch will be a well-timed straight, straight right hand or straight left, if you're southpaw. After slipping to the outside of an opponent's jab, right? The punch can land cleanly on the chin while your opponent is still slightly off balance from throwing their punch. Left hooks can be an equalizer, possibly the most effective counter in terms of a high percentage of damage will be a well-timed left hook, right? Now, counterpunches are a real art form, and timing is important. And some guys just have a better feel for it than others, right? Yeah, some guys just have a feel for that timing and everything. Now, your punches land harder if the other guy is moving forward when you hit him, okay? Some of the best counter punches, Vander Holyfield, Juan Manuel Marquez, Benny Leonard. We mentioned Juan in the beginning. Now, going back to the 50s, Golden Lastarza was a brilliant counterpuncher. He fought Rocky for the title, lost. I think he lost to Rocky twice. There's Archie Moore, of course, Sugar Ray Robinson, Ali, Willie Pep, Gene Tunney, Floyd Mayweather, all-time counterpuncher. Lights Out James Toney, Joe Gans. Yeah, those are all great counterpunches. And like I was saying earlier, Ali, that quickness. But I was talking about Sugar Ray. But, being fast like that helps too. You can almost, the guy throw that punch, you almost tag him before he even gets set back up, So, yeah. Ali, Sugar Ray, Floyd, all great counterpunches. Timing has a lot more to do with it than speed, though, I would say, as far as counterpunching. Now, in boxing, when you sense an opponent is about to throw a punch, how feasible is it to respond with a quicker counterpunch? As always, right? The question is, in boxing, now the real answer is it's not particularly feasible unless you're faster than your opponent and or, like any good counterpuncher, can time his shots and also find his rhythm and patterns. Floyd Mayweather was the master of both, right? He usually spent the first couple of rounds timing his opponents and adjusting their rhythm. But that work in the opening rounds just finished where they're going into countless hours of preparation before the fight, right? Now, for most great fighters, the work begins long before entering the ring. Fighters like Mayweather or Sweet Pea spent hour upon hour watching film of opponents, and they then adopted their tactics to what they observed on the film. Now, the discipline to do that, the ability to adapt, to adjust to the rhythm and flow, you are talking about a rare gift and great determination as well. But for most fighters, it is pure luck when a fighter steps forward, as Paul Williams did while Sergio Martinez was loading up, or when Pacquiao leapt forward into Juan Manuel Marquez's desperation right. Pacquiao was in charge, had gotten overconfident, yeah. Yeah, Pacquiao got kind of over. He was controlling the fight and just leapt in there, and Marquez threw that overhand right, and that was the end of it. And what is the most powerful, effective punch or move in boxing? That's easy, the jab, right? The jab starts everything. Are you going to the boots? Are you going boots by? You going to the fight, Al Booger? Yeah, I'm going boots by decision too. Yeah, GP, like, yeah, that pull counter. That's a thing of beauty when you can do it right, like Floyd used to do it. And yeah, that pull counter is a very effective punch. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going boots by decision too. Yeah. Because Stanionis is tough, man. Yeah, I don't think, has he ever been stopped? Stanionis? I don't know. But yeah, let me check. I don't think he's ever been stopped. Stanionis. Tough man. He's from one of them Eastern European fighters. Got one of them Jake LaMotta chins. Demantis Stanionis. Yeah, I'm gonna check on that. I'll see if he's ever been stopped. I don't think so. I really don't think he's been stopped before. Demantis Stanionis. They spell Emantis. I'll just put Stanionis. I don't know how to spell Emantis. Nope, never been stopped. He's only had 15 fights? Wow. That's all 15 fights. 9 knockouts. Never been stopped though. I don't think he's even ever been down. So I think, yeah, that'll still be the case after Saturday. Boots by unanimous decision. Boots will outbox him. Yeah. They both got very good chins. So I don't see a stoppage. But it's a unification. 2 of the belts will be in one hand. And then we got Norman. I think Barrio, what's his name? Barrio still has one, right? One belt. Yeah. So then we can, yeah, Lithuania. That's right. And Lithuania. Yeah. Yeah, he's undefeated too. Yeah, undefeated. You're right. 15-0. I thought they had more fights than that though. Wow. I'm looking for a good fight. Stanionis will put up a tough test. It won't be no walk in no park for Boots. He's gonna Boots gets hit now. So Stanionis it's gonna be a tough fight. Some good back and forths in it. Yeah. Fan friendly, I would say. I think it'll be fan friendly. Yeah. A fan friendly fight between Boots and Stanionis. 2 champions fighting each other. That is going to be great. And we're back. I'm glad. Just been doing this lately. The TV keep going out. Can you hear me now, Al Booger? Am I back? My Wi-Fi dropped me off the thumbs up, please, from someone. I think you can hear me now. Yeah, Wi-Fi issues. Okay, thank you, GP. I got back fast. It didn't take long. Right? What's up, Ant? We weren't off long.
What's going on? What's going on?
Well, not too much. Another day talking this boxing.
Yes, sir. Watching some boxing.
What you watching?
I got a couple things up right now.
Okay.
Kind of taking notes.
Yeah.
I got Stanionis, Gabriel Maestre up.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I had Boots versus Avanesian, and also had Boots versus what's the guy's name? Karen Chukajan.
Right. So what you got so far on the matchup Saturday?
Honestly, I don't feel like these guys are as far apart as I once anticipated. I thought that there would be a considerable gap between the two.
Yeah.
Boots and Stanionis, but I think they're kind of neck and neck.
Okay.
It's probably one of the better fights that we can get at welterweight at this juncture.
Mm-hmm.
Stanionis is pretty damn good, man.
Yeah, he's tough, man. From Lithuania, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but not only is he tough though, but he's just very sound.
Mm-hmm.
Very sound.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that's the thing that sticks out the most to me is just how sound he is.
Sound he is, okay.
Yeah, he's very responsible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he gets touched a little bit, but I think it's because of how responsible he is.
Yeah.
As weird as that may sound.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's one of those guys where he keeps his hands up, and you know how it is when guys fighting that high guard. There's places where you can place punches.
That's
like
right.
Around the guard, underneath.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he doesn't really get hit with anything too crazy. I'd say the punch that he's most susceptible to is the uppercut. Because he does have the tendency to tuck his chin down and keep his hands up so a shot can be slipped underneath.
Right.
But outside of that, his defense is pretty tight. He's not a defensive specialist. He's not a Willie Pep or a Pernell Whitaker or somebody like that.
But he's solid.
But he's competent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like his defense is not trash. He doesn't block punches with his face.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. I'm looking forward to a good fight though, man. Yeah.
One thing that I really like about his defense, with that being said, is he operates kind of like a Venus flytrap.
Yeah.
Very similar to Canelo. So, for example, if a guy throws a jab at him,
right,
he's coming over the top with a right hand.
Okay.
Or he's going underneath to the body.
Yeah.
Like he's very responsive in that regard. Now, if the guy throws the opposite hand, then he matches that hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like almost instantaneous.
Yeah. Okay.
So he's a guy that I think Boots, he's going to have to be crafty with. He's going to have to be crafty with him. Doing little things like, foot feints, couple hand feints, change levels, things of that sort to just keep this guy off his trail and keep him on his toes.
Yeah.
Because if he just gets into the routine of just going out there and just throwing punches, this guy will punch with him.
Right.
And he's got decent power. He's got respectable power. I mean, in 15 fights, he's got 9 KOs.
9, okay.
Yeah. So I gotta check what the exact percentage is. Around like 60 something. Oh, it's
Something like
60
that.
on the dot. I just checked it.
Okay.
60 on the dot.
60 on the dot. Okay.
Yeah, right on the nose.
I don't know why I was thinking he had more fights, but the Eastern Europeans, I guess he stayed in the amateurs a long time. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, that's generally how them guys do. And then not only that, but he's been pro for 7 years.
Okay.
2023 wasn't too kind to him. Had a little bit of inactivity, and it wasn't all his fault. Remember, he was scheduled to fight Virgil Ortiz.
Right, I remember that.
That fight had got postponed twice before it was eventually canceled. But that fight was signed in 2023, so he was waiting for Virgil. Virgil had a situation with Rabdo.
And one time, Stanionis had something with his kidneys or something, didn't he? I think.
No, it was Virgil. Virgil had to got postponed twice.
Yeah, that's right. Virgil.
That's when Virgil eventually made the pilgrimage to 154.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so Stanionis basically sat out for a whole year almost.
Waiting for Virgil, yeah.
Waiting for that fight because the fight was signed. It was signed, postponed. Then it got postponed again, and then it was eventually canceled. And then he fought most recently May of 2024. But I think he's very sound, good fundamentals. I think he's got pretty good feet too.
No, not bad at all.
No, they're pretty good, and not in the way that we generally attribute good feet, where it's like a guy who's very elusive, very loose and evasive, but good feet in an old school kind of way. When you watch the old school fighters, those guys could stand in the center of the ring and then just move perpetually, like the hands on the clock, but stay in range.
Yeah,
like that Stanionis, like he doesn't take too many steps backwards. He doesn't fall in when he throws his punches. He's well balanced. Seldom will you see him cross his feet. Doesn't really reach too much on many punches. So he's able to stay in position, pivot, and then just be in range to hit. But he's also far enough to where he can be responsible defensively, get his hands back home. Or what I've seen from him defensively, these are his 3 main things that he does.
Okay.
He'll block punches with the high guard. He'll pull. He pulls quite a bit. He'll pull and then he'll roll underneath. And then he'll also just pivot off the line.
Yeah.
But he stays in range.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see the fight, and I'm curious to see how Boots is able to deal with him. One thing I did notice with Boots from watching his last 2 fights,
the Avenesian and Curran, right?
Yeah, although he's got power in both hands, I think he's far better orthodox than he is southpaw.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with
that. Far better. For a couple of reasons. One thing I was looking at was his usage of his lead hand when he's orthodox.
Right.
It's so varied. Like if you go look at the opening rounds for both of those fights, the Karen rematch and the Avenesian fight, he was jabbing body head. He was firing it from an upright position, firing it from the crouch, kind of like an Andre Ward, hop type of thing. When those guys get low, they'll get low and fire high, changing levels and all that stuff.
Right.
When he's in southpaw, he doesn't use his lead hand that same way. Like he'll use the jab, but it's a lot more sparse. The usage isn't as varied. He doesn't really change the rhythm as much. When he's southpaw, that's when he's generally a lot more aggressive.
Okay.
And that's when he tends to fall in a little bit. There was a moment in the 8th round of the Karen fight where it got really egregious, and Bozy was admonishing him. He said, yo, stop falling in, because he was reaching with his backhand, reaching with the left hand when he was in the southpaw position. So it's like, he gets a little bit overzealous, and he's a little bit light on his feet. Like I was saying about Stanionis, but Stanionis is well balanced. Boots, not so much. Like he'll reach, he'll fall in, and he'll put himself out of position to walk himself into shot.
That's southpaw.
Yeah, when he's southpaw, he can walk himself into shots.
Yeah,
and then he also becomes a little bit more stationary than he is when he's orthodox. His movement isn't as fluid with his legs when he's orthodox. I mean, when he's southpaw. So
Yeah.
I think he should stay orthodox and then just
Just
try to stay long.
Don't switch it at all. Is that what you're saying?
I'm not gonna say don't switch at all, but if you do, just don't commit to anything. Don't commit to the switch.
Yeah, I see
don't
what
commit to it. Maybe do it in spots just to confuse him and change up the look here and there. But I don't think he should commit to it just for the sake of not sacrificing his advantages, because he is the more dynamic athlete. I feel like he's more agile, he's quicker, so on and so forth. At southpaw, he's just not as fluid as he is. He's good, but he's not as good.
Yeah, you say he's sacrificing his advantages. Yeah, okay.
To a degree, yeah. Because if you go look at the fight with Karen, when Karen had most of his success, it was when Boots was in southpaw. And Boots was walking himself into shots because he was reaching when he was throwing his power shots.
Yeah,
reaching, leaving himself wide open, head on the line. Chin over his front knee.
That's not good.
He was susceptible to the left hook. He got hit with a nasty left hook in the first round. They both threw at the same time, 50-50 exchange.
Yeah.
But Karen was able to generate more power on his because he was able to plant his feet, whereas Boots was falling in as he was throwing his shot. He wasn't anchored.
Okay. Yeah. What's up, T?
So his momentum falling in and Karen's shot.
You fell right into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You there, T?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening to the cook. That's all. You know,
yeah. So go ahead, Aunt. Finish. I was just speaking to T Hill, that's all. I hadn't spoke to him yet. That's interesting.
Yeah, I called you the other day, but
me?
Yeah, you. But I understand that, you know, that's a shared phone, so I know sometimes you might not be nowhere.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you the house. I got a landline too. I mean, I don't know why. But yeah, I'm gonna give you that number. The house number. Yeah.
Go on and cook though, Aunt.
Yeah, Aunt was cooking. I was just greeting you, that's all. Yeah. I'm gonna check out that current fight later on.
Just pay close attention to how he looks the opening round when he's orthodox.
Yeah.
And just look at the way he uses his lead hand.
Okay.
Just look at the way he uses his lead hand. And then the other thing too, I feel like when he's southpaw, defensively, he's a little bit too reliant on his reflexes. Because one thing I will say is Boots does a fantastic job of rubbernecking shots. He'll roll steam off a shot because he can see him coming. He has good eyes.
Yeah.
So he can see those shots coming. But the problem is he's stationary when he's doing it. So if a guy punches in combination, you throw, let's say, 3 of them, he might be able to roll off the first one, but then he's getting hit by the last 2 getting hit by the last shot because he's not getting off the line after he slips or after he rolls. He's still his feet are still planted.
Yeah.
And you don't want to slip because you might be able to slip the second one. I mean, you might be able to slip the first one, but if you try to slip the second one, there's that moment, there's that window where your head is crossing past the center line.
That's right.
So it's better to slip and then roll underneath.
Yeah.
But Boots will slip.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's gonna be that moment where your head's gonna be right there.
Exactly. There's that brief moment. So if the guy is timing it, if he's timing, he knows you're gonna just be there stationary. So he can afford to throw, you know, a quick 3-shot burst, bop. You're gonna slip the second one, but you're gonna run right into the second or third one.
Sure is.
And what you say in the 11th where Karen was just literally he threw a right hand, caught him on the chin, pivoted off to the left, caught him with another right hand, pivoted back to the right, another right hand, then pivoted back to the left. Caught him with 4 shots in a row.
That's what I was saying. Boots was getting hit. Yeah.
He was. And Boots is not a bad defensive fighter. You know what I'm saying? Not by any means, but again, I just think that is when he's southpaw, he's generally looking to be a little bit more aggressive. He's not really looking to box. And it puts him in the line of fire.
Hmm. Seems like he stayed southpaw. Do you think he stays southpaw more than it's orthodox?
Yeah, it feels like it because generally when you watch his fights, it seems like he's fighting like he has a point to prove.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like after all, he is what do you call him, Mr. Catch a Body.
Right.
He fights like it. Like he's just very aggressive, trying to get downhill.
Mm-hmm.
So there are times where his technique could elude him.
Yeah.
And then he's presenting the other guy with opportunities
that
they wouldn't have.
That's unnecessarily, yeah.
Yeah, unnecessarily. Because I think he could still be as effective. I think he could still be as effective, equally effective, if he were to just, just stay sharp and run a guy into a shot instead of trying to press him out.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
I think the greatest thing that happened from the fight for me, especially if you're interested in working on your craft. I mean, I know there are fighters that are there to work on their craft. We can see it evident in some fighters, especially like a fighter like Benavidez, where he's constantly seeking to add to any deficiency or improve upon whatever he has going pretty good in his favor. These past couple of fights have been eye-opening, and I would hope to their camp, man, so they could see some things. And I would also like to add an element of play that we know is common to all folks, and that's fatigue. Fatigue usually says it makes cowards of men, but it also breaks great form. It also breaks concentration and things of that nature when you're tired. I think this interest also plays a part. I think that ever since the moment he co-mained on that Tank fight, he wanted to show the world that he was the star and he was deserving of star draw and star power. And then after that, subsequently, I don't think the fights that he was hoping for followed suit. And I think it also played a role in effect of how he was taking these fights too. And in the ring, you can't for a second not respect that moment, because that ring, it tells the truth on you in a heartbeat. And if you're not totally into it, or if you're not totally prepared, it will show in that ring, man. So I hope that they take this time to get right for my man, because he's eager to get back in the ring. He ain't been able to be in the ring, and like Ant said, to a credit, it has not even been his fault. He's been sidelined due to other circumstances.
Right. And
now he's ready to show the world that, like, I'm somebody that you need to focus on. I'm somebody that you need to talk about.
Did he have a fight last year, Theo? Stanionis?
Yeah, he had one fight, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe, because I know he needed a fight at least to keep himself somewhat active, because he wasn't being able to fight.
Right.
So, I think that what Anna's saying is true. Like, there are things that boots do that isn't sometimes they're not as advantageous to him as they should be. And he needs to understand that, because this dude right here is much like you. He's been waiting to prove to the world that he is a player. He's been wanting to fight a fighter and not had that chance come through, and now he has a chance to unify. Same thing for him. I think now the motivation has scaled up, because I'm no longer taking step aside fights because other folks won't fight me, or I can't get this chance.
Yeah,
I don't have to fight a fight that I don't want to fight because I done already fought this person. So now hopefully the execution will be sharper. The focus will be much more greater, and that the flaws that we see was just product of quote unquote outside or extenuating circumstances that did not factor into the well-being of his actual training, his actual regimen as far as how they approach a fight. Because if not, he definitely smothers his work sometimes when he don't have to. He definitely overreaches a lot, especially coming from that left when he's in the southpaw stance. And, he definitely relies too much on his athleticism. And as Ant so eloquently stated, back in the days, footwork wasn't really minimal, and it ain't too many. What's his name? Nicolucci's. There ain't too many people who can sit there and make tons of punches miss. They used to make you miss subtly with the steps. The steps had purpose. Yeah. The feet had purpose. They weren't moving a lot, but they were doing a lot with the movement that they were doing. Mm-hmm. So, and that's what my man definitely has in his repertoire. He doesn't look active, but he's actively presenting himself in a better angle or disadvantageous angle for his opponent. And it's subtle and, it's effective. Like in basketball, so to speak, man. I remember them talking about the most effective move, if you can master it and becomes unstoppable for a defender, especially if you can knock the shot down, is if you can do everything within a 2 dribble span. So if I could 2 dribble pull up, I can get my move and get off on 2 dribbles. You're not used to, you can't get my pattern because I can alter the pattern off the 2 dribbles. Right. I can do certain difference and then you can't get my timing. Yeah. So hopefully, that's what's going on because, this is a big fight. It's a big fight for both of them. And it's a proving ground for both of them.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah, that was good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. And a lot of people speak on a lot of people's behalf or to the detriment of their behalf or to downplay them. But, the one thing that I like to let talk is that ring talk. That ring talk different than what we can talk, even what they can talk on Twitter or in an interview. It's going to show a different story. And I'm interested to see how the story plays out because you got 2 terrifically gifted fighters from different points of view, from different walks of life, but also from different gifts that they have and possess. But each effective in when they use them, and especially when they use them with the proper focus and dedication. So let's hope that since this now is a fight that you want, and this is a fight that you've been longing for on both ends, you go in there with that same mindset, like, I got to make the most of this opportunity. Mm-hmm. Not take anything for granted, not waste any moment. Because any moment in a ring, I seen it happen with my own eyes. I remember a fighter, I forgot his name, man. He was a damn good fighter. Mm-hmm. Brazen, though. He was really, really supremely confident in his ability to overcome anything and his ability to take anything. And he sat there and let this dude hit him a couple of times. Well, the first one didn't have the right effect, but the second one knocked him out. He lost the fight that he was dominating. Dang. I forgot who that fighter was, man, because he was a fighter I rocked with. I got to remember what it was, but it's a long time ago, and I'll never forget that. Like, in any moment, that fight can swing and change.
That's true.
You got to be prepared for that moment when it actually comes your way. How do you? And that's one thing I give Floyd so much respect for. Mm-hmm. When a moment came his way, man, he was able to adapt.
Yeah, he was ready. You're right. Yeah.
He was able to respond. Like, you got to be sharp. And even when you're not at your most sharpest, you still got to be cognizant of what I got to do to get around it. So, yeah, it's a great fight. And like I said, my man Ant so eloquently broke that down.
Yeah, that is a very good fight, too. I think it'll be fan-friendly, too. I'm looking forward to it, man.
I'm hoping for it.
Yeah. Should be.
But always good to hear. RP in the building, man. Shout out Ray Patterson.
RP? Ray Patterson. Yeah, we got to get ready to get out of Just Do Boxing's way.
For sure. Well, it's always good to grace the panel of the Box Story, and it's always good to hear him.
A good one.
Yeah, boxing, it's just due from times past. It's always great to hear Ant McQueen.
Yeah, that's good points today. Yeah. From you and Ant, man. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to look at that Boots, and I think I'm going to watch both of them, Boots and the last 2, like Ed was talking about, Abenita and Kern. You know I ain't going with Kern last name. Kern. Yeah.
Boots is actually a good study piece, man, because you can see where, talent and skill can take you, but you can also see where you still need to work and improve, even if you are talented and skilled. Yeah. So, hey, man, shout out to Boots. Shout out to Bozy.
What was the one you was watching for Stanionis, Ant? You said you was watching the Stanionis fight?
Well, his last fight with Gabriel Maestre.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Al Booger said he was waiting backstage.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, he sure is. Damn. Here we go. Sorry about that, Al Booger. How you doing?
It's all good, brother.
What's happening?
I was
What you
sitting
got
back
for
here
us?
dying, man. I didn't have
What's
anything really.
happening?
You know, you talking about boots, so I figured, you know, sit in the
Yeah.
back and just listen. It should be an interesting fight. I'm looking forward to it, man. I can't wait.
You going
all
to
I
it,
got.
right?
Yeah, man.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be a
That's
little
good.
family affair. Got the fellas together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brother, cousins. They're gonna be in the building. Yeah.
It's in Atlantic City. Okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah, it's like
in the
like
house.
90 minutes away. It's not far at all.
It ain't
So,
bad at
yeah.
all. Oh, that's a hop, skip, and a jump. 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's easy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's all you had, though, Al Booger?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna hold up Just Do, you know. So
yeah. How long was you in the
maybe
back? I
it was
kept
a minute.
seeing you putting stuff in the chat. Wow.
It was a minute. But yeah, I didn't have anything, you know, in particular. Just you know, thoughts on the fight, things like that. So yeah, it's all good.
Okay. But we'll be back tomorrow. Come up tomorrow. I'll get you in quicker. I said I will put these in the back. I said he just put something in the chat.
See, I put something on the
I see it.
I'm holding it up now. I'll let you go. But yeah, I'll be in the chat tomorrow though.
Okay, Albert, I appreciate you.
All right, brother.
Okay.
Peace.
All right, peace now. Okay. Yeah, salute. I don't think I saluted Ray. Ray Patterson came into the building. How are you, Ray? Okay. I'm going to go and get out. Appreciate everybody for coming through today. Join me tomorrow. Because you already know if it's Monday through Friday at 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all of that boxing history. Just Do Boxing is probably already in progress. Get over there and support that brother. And everybody have a great afternoon. I will see y'all around those YouTube streets. There we go.